It's Mira Business FM. This is The Morning Drive. My name's Tim Elliott. Good morning. Anna Skigin is here. She is the founder and CEO of Frank Porter. That is an Airbnb management company and more, I think, launched in Dubai in 2017. Frank Porter rents out properties for investors on short-term via platforms like Airbnb, Booking.com, and their very own Frank Porter booking site. So it's a warm welcome to you. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. It's good to have you here. I'm going to jump straight in, actually, with two questions. We'll start with the challenges and the benefits questions. Let's start with the benefits before we get into your story. What's the benefits of short-term properties for investors? Let's start there, Anna.
So some of the benefits include that, in general, you can make much more money doing short-term than long-term. Mm-hmm. So it's another way of making money on your investment. You have a property here, you want to make money, passive income on it, you put it on short-term. It's another way of making returns. The biggest benefit, I think, for short-term versus any other way to rent out your property is, of course, the flexibility. So when you're renting out your property, you have guests stay in for, 3 nights, 1 week, 1 month. It's not a long-term contract, meaning that you have access to your property. You can always use it for yourself, for your guests, for your friends. And also, if you ever want to sell it, you can do it immediately. You don't have to wait for a tenant to move out.
To vacate, for sure. I mean, I guess for a lot of people here, that makes a lot of sense because, people in Dubai buy buildings and floors in buildings, but lots of people have multiple properties. I guess some people rent them out longer term, some people rent them out shorter term. It's a very mixed market, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and it's really grown in the past sort of 10 years. We've been here for 8 years, and the market has developed, insanely compared to other markets. It's the fastest growing market for Airbnb in the world by far.
I got to say, I'm kind of not surprised.
Yeah.
Because
you have such a strong tourism market here, and you have to remember that hotels are great, and of course, hotels are wonderful. But what you get with a property is so different than what you get for a hotel. So, think of a family. You have a big family. You have 2 kids. You want to cook for them. You want to do laundry. You want to, relax, have the space. You can't really do that in a hotel. So it's not the alternative. It's just another, it's another way to travel with a property with sort of the Airbnb model than a hotel. So it doesn't take away from a hotel experience, but it sort of adds something else and allows more people to come to Dubai.
It's also a geographic thing, isn't it? Very often, great Airbnbs are available in the center of a city, and it allows you that kind of, it gives you like a city view. Do you know what I mean? I think that's more prevalent than it would be very often in hotels.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you have, especially now, you can rent a property anywhere in Dubai. It used to be Marina, downtown. Now it's absolutely everywhere. It's in Mirdif, it's in JVC, it's everywhere. So it gives you that flexibility to see the city, and also allows you to stay on different budgets, right?
Yeah.
You can rent a villa in the Palm if you have the funds, but you can also rent a small studio in JVC and be 15 minutes from the beach as well. Yeah. Or maybe 20 with current traffic.
Yeah, or maybe a bit more than that with current traffic. Okay, we won't go there at the moment. Yeah. So the benefits really to start with, challenges as well. Let's start there. I want to get into lots and lots of different things with you because I need, as much as anything, I need an update on how this all works. But the challenges of short-term properties for investors.
Well, the challenges are it's an investment, right? So you do have to furnish the property. That's for sure. And that's an upfront investment that the client needs to do. There's regulation, you have to pay for a license. There's a few extra steps that you need to do here versus, maybe in New York. So that's a little bit of a challenge. And of course, the returns are cyclical. Now we're in the highest season. Sure. So between sort of September, October to April, May is you have the high season of Dubai. And then, of course, the summers is when the rates drop. So it's always up and down. But overall, you have a pretty steady income. So it kind of depends on your appetite. If you want a fixed, every single month you're getting paid the same rent, or if you're happy with the fluctuations, you do short term.
What's the legal situation here surrounding Airbnb in the UAE? I mean, I remember the times of this was a number of years ago when it, became a thing. Airbnb. It was a registration with Dubai Tourism and Commerce Marketing. But who regulates the? I suppose this is like the holiday home sector, isn't it, in the Emirates?
So it's the same. It's called the DET now,
Okay.
and they regulate it in Dubai. And interestingly, when we came, so Frank Porter was launched 2017, and the law around this changed in 2016. Which is why we came, because when we came, we realized the opportunity was incredible. The law just changed.
Okay.
Nobody was doing short term legally, at least, and it was booming in places like London and places like Paris, where people also had beautiful properties. And here, you have properties with beautiful views and on the beach, and nobody was renting them out. And what we realized is the law came into effect when everything became regulated. Which means that you have to have a license to operate. The license in Dubai starts at around 370 for a studio 1 bedroom and goes up based on bedroom.
370
dirhams per year.
370 dirhams a year.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem extortionate to me.
No,
it's $100.
Yeah, exactly. And then you just go up 300 per bedroom.
Okay.
And similarly in Abu Dhabi, they have a bit different, but similar, you pay for a license. And then what you have to pay as well is something called a tourism dirham, which is basically the same as hotels pay per night, like a tax that we pay on behalf of our clients for every stay. And yeah, it's very regulated. Which is a big benefit of this business in Dubai versus other markets. I mean, I'm sure you've heard the stories of what's happening around the world with Airbnb, and the problem is there wasn't enough regulation, and it came out of control. I think what the UAE did well is they looked at that model and they said, we don't want that. We don't want chaos. How do we make sure that we have a steady supply and everything is well done? So they launched this initiative, and DET is overseeing it, that everybody's licensed. Everybody needs to pay monthly fees. There's checks on the properties as well. There's inspectors that come in to make sure that, the quality stays high. And there's actually a hotline for both guests and for hosts. So if a guest has an issue, they can contact DT. If we have an issue with the guest, we contact DT. So the way they did it was quite nice because there is this support. So you feel quite safe as an operator to operate here, that it's not going to be out of left field that all of a sudden they shut you down because you haven't paid tax. Because we pay tax. Well, something called the tourism dirham.
Okay. I had no idea because, I hear all the horror stories. Look, I have a flat in Scotland, and I know there are people offering Airbnb in the place when they shouldn't be.
Yeah.
And all they've done is move the little lockbox around the corner on a different railing just around.
Yeah.
And residents in the building are upset about it. And I can see both sides. But you hear all of those horror stories, of course. So the regulatory aspects are interesting. I've got a couple of questions to ask you, actually. Just quickly, let me just bring these up here. There's a few coming in. No name on this. My biggest fear with Airbnb is a listing that doesn't match reality or an unresponsive host. And you can understand why that would be a pain. How do you, as Frank Porter, guarantee a consistent, high quality and trustworthy experience for a guest?
So we have a very big team. We are 160 people now between all of our operations, which includes everything from onboarding, interior design, photography, listing, to the post listing, which is cleaning, maintenance, communication, support.
Right.
Our team of people that communicate with guests is around 12, and I think it's 12 now, yeah. And we work, of course, 24/7 for the guests to make sure that we respond both via the platforms and on calls and on WhatsApp and whatever we need to do to make sure that the guest is satisfied. I agree. The biggest problem, not the biggest, one of the big ones is the reality doesn't match what you see.
Oh, yeah.
And this is something that we are very particular on. So, for example, our photography is in-house. We ensure the photos look great, but we never saturate the photos and put fake things in the photos because we understand that the guests will come based on the photos and just, the reality doesn't meet expectation and already you're unhappy,
Yeah.
So we really work towards making sure the listings look great, but they really look great with the furnishing, with the styling, with the property itself, not because we really edited the photos to make them look great.
Well, there are some very creative people with
Oh,
some,
yeah.
very expensive wide-angle lenses. So, the little bolt hole that you end up in looked like a palace before you got in the door.
We're very particular, and from the beginning, this was such a thing for us to make sure that the properties look realistic. Sometimes to our detriment, because some clients come to us and they say, "I want you to make it look like this," and we say, "No, please trust us. We'll make it look like this. You'll get the bookings, but then the reviews will drop because." One guy's unhappy, the second guy, and then you will, it'll be less and less. So please let us do it as we believe it should be done.
But see, this is the thing, isn't it? Airbnb works very much on reviews, but reviews from both sides, isn't it? It's the hosts reviewing the guests as much as the guests reviewing the hosts and and obviously the properties as well. It's really important.
Yeah, the reviews are very important, and this is, a constant struggle to make sure the guest is happy, but within the realm of, what's acceptable. So, for example, I remember when we first started, we did everything ourselves. It was really like a startup operation, and I remember one of the first times we managed a property, and we had the call in the middle of the night from a guy, and 5 a.m. call, and I was still taking the guest calls, and he said, 2 Pepsis, please. And I said, what? It's 5 a.m. What? And he didn't realize he was staying at an Airbnb. He thought it was a hotel.
Wow.
And he literally thought that I was going to go get him a Pepsi. So it's these expectations of, we will do everything. We have, towels and shampoos and waters and coffees and everything, to make the guest experience stellar. But there is a line.
There is a line at 5 a.m. asking for sodas.
I think so. I think then you just spoil the market, and Airbnb is supposed to be, a different experience. It's supposed to be an experience where it's someone's home, right?
No, completely. I want to get into some of the more of the kind of ins and outs of running an Airbnb property management company. But I got to ask you about Frank Porter first of all, because Frank Porter, we were kind of joking out there. Well, not even really joking, kind of semi-joking that Frank Porter could be James Bond's sidekick. But where does the Frank Porter name comes from? Because that's not your name.
No, that's not my name. So Frank Porter was this beautiful sort of idea that Frank Porter is a guy. He is like a James Bond or his sidekick.
Okay.
That you give him the keys and he just takes care of everything in your property. And you don't have to worry about it. It's totally hassle-free. But then if you take a step back, Frank Porter also means, it's a play on words. Frank means honest. And Porter means concierge. So our sort of tagline is we're your honest concierge.
I see what you did there.
Yeah.
Okay. Right then. But does that having kind of a person's name? I mean, Frank Porter sounds like an old London kind of hotel guy.
Yeah.
In some ways.
That was the point. Yeah.
That's what it was.
Point, yeah.
How has that helped you?
It helped us a lot.
In terms of your branding and in terms of recognition or
It's a sophisticated
attitude.
name, and I think everyone kind of adapts to the name. When you're working at Frank Porter, you're all of a sudden sit up a little straighter. You're like, okay, it's Frank Porter. It's a brand. And of course, after 8 years, we have become quite a big brand here in the region. But that was the point. Yeah,
Okay.
that was the point.
All right, so how did you get into this? Because you don't come from as far as I can tell, I read some of the notes about you. You don't come from a particularly real estate background. I know there's hospitality in there.
Yeah.
But how did you get into this? And why did Dubai was just the opportunity that you saw?
Yeah, it was really in between things. I sold my previous business. We came here on a vacation. We looked around, and like I said, it was just one of those things where we're looking around into properties that were completely empty in March, I think it was, 2017, with all of these views. And the first thought is, how much would it be we were staying at a hotel, and how much would it be to rent a property there with that view? And we started looking, and no one's renting out properties. None of our friends do it. None of, it wasn't a thing. And then a little bit of research led us to this new law change, and that it really wasn't happening here as much as it was happening. I was living in London at the time. And, the idea just kind of came together that this seems like such an opportunity. You can't sort of ignore the opportunity. You don't have many opportunities like this in life where,
It was like a light bulb moment
yeah,
for you,
it was
wasn't it?
really, yeah. So I came, did a lot of research. I came for like a 2-week trip, went around all the government agencies to find out the legal framework, and launched by September 2017. So came to do this business. This was very much came to Dubai to start the business.
Okay, so let's kind of get inside how it works and everything for a few moments. Let's say I've got a property here and I decide, right, Frank Porter, I want you to handle this for me. What's the process?
So we do everything in-house. So it starts with the onboarding process. You come in, you tell us what you want. So, it depends on your property. It can be empty, or maybe you have already some furniture. So we do different types of projects. We do full furnishing project, which is based on sort of packages.
Right.
We have a sort of a standard and a premium package. So I don't know, for a studio, let's say it's 25,000, and it's all in everything: furniture, cups, forks, carpets, art, TV. Everything is included in that package.
Okay.
And within 3 to 4 weeks, you are live on the platform. And then the other way to do it is if you already have a couple of things, or you're living in a property, let's say it's your home and you're moving out and you want to just rent it out as is. We come in, we do an inspection, we see what's missing, and we also, provide some touches to make it live. We put the property live on different platforms. The main ones are AirBnB, Booking.com, and our platform, the Frank Porter platform, which is quite strong now. We're about 10% to 12% of our bookings come from our own platform.
Okay.
And other sort of smaller platforms as well. We're also on Beirut, Dubizzle, and from then on, as soon as it's live, the second part of the business starts, which is the operations, which is checking in guests, cleaning, maintenance, communication with guests, taking payment, and the day-to-day operation of running a sort of a holiday home.
Because I always think one of the things, I mean, I've been in a few Airbnbs, and the thing that's always kind of concerned me, not concerned me, but it's not taken care of in many ways as in the same way as hotels are, is the cleaning.
Yeah.
When guests move out, a lot of people do this as their own kind of side hustle, everything. And I get that it's different for you, but it's things like that 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 are those small differences mean everything, don't they?
Of course, and cleaning is, the pain point for everybody.
I bet it is, yeah.
Yeah, especially
Yeah.
during the high season, you have many back-to-back bookings, and it is, of course, as a guest, you're coming in. The most important thing is that the property is, perfectly clean for you. So we have a huge team. That is our biggest team. We have, I think, like 20 vehicles, including some of the smaller vans, but big cleaning vans. So we have so much going into that operation. We make sure it's in-house so we can control the operation to make sure the properties are, perfect. We have a standard for the cleaning. We provide everything new. So of course, all the bed sheets, the towels is provided for each guest. Shampoos, to make sure that the guest has sort of a semi-hotel experience.
Sure, but also within kind of somebody's home, I guess. The other thing is, it's relatively easy to be in control of those kinds of things. You're in charge of the regulation. You can be in control of vetting the owners, I suppose. But how do you vet the guests? How does that work? Or can you even vet?
It's difficult to
It
vet
must
the
be.
guests. We try to vet the guests. I mean, of course, if we have some red flags from the beginning. But it's so interesting because in my experience over 8 years, I've been so surprised. I've had, groups of sort of young guys come and literally say, we're staying to party in Dubai, and all the red flags go off. And these guys are some of the, have been some of the best guests. They leave the property perfect. They check out on time. Everything is clean and nice. And then I've literally had families come in that you don't have any red flags, that have created disasters. So all I've learned is don't judge a book by its cover. Every guest is different. You can, and actually the more people are honest with you sometimes, like if they say, I'm here to enjoy myself, sometimes, I don't know, they turned out to be the best guests, so
Do you
it's
know?
hard.
But that's interesting, isn't it? If you've got guys that they're here to party and they're here to hit the beach or whatever it is, and they're going to live together, and they're honest with you, they're almost warning you
Yeah.
that they're going to do that, and from that you kind of think maybe these people are going to be okay. I suppose. I
I
don't
don't,
know.
but I'm saying it's hit or miss. You don't know.
Yeah.
But what I would say is Dubai is a little bit different in that because it's, as you know, it's so regulated, this business, and because people have this thing about Dubai that, there's rules. You can't just do whatever you want. You can't, trash a hotel room and leave in the middle of the night. You will be found. And I forgot to mention that one of the big requirements in Dubai is every guest has to submit their passport via the government platform. So
Right.
it's every guest. If you're traveling with multiple children, each child has to submit a passport. So I think that regulation already creates this sense of, okay, I can't sort of screw up too much here. And honestly, I can count on one hand how many incidents we've had over 8 years that were, kind of serious enough. The others are just sort of, people smoke inside, which we get rid of very easily with an ozone machine. People leave a bit of a mess. The stuff, the horror stories you hear about
Yeah.
doesn't really happen here as much as people think.
I guess if you have to submit, a document like that, there's an element of self-policing that people are going to take care
I think
of.
so.
That kind of makes sense.
Yeah, you're already prepared that you're entering the country. There's police. You from the airport, you feel, okay, this is different, and I can't just cross the border from France to Italy. I have to sort of go back to if someone catches me.
I mean, it's the way it is, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Dubai is very relaxed, and you can do whatever you like, but hold on a minute, there is a line. And I think
which is correct.
That's drawn firmly in the sand. Okay. Let's go back to this flat that I want to rent with you, which is non-existent, but in my head it's palatial. What kind of insurance should I have as a property owner if I was going to look at, Airbnb or?
So there's actually a legal requirement as well to have insurance for your property, which we provide for our guests. And then we always, depending on the property, we recommend to increase the insurance, depending on your contents. In general, this is a business where you're not keeping your Rolexes inside. This is, or your, expensive works of art. This is a business where you don't have valuables. You are here to rent out your property, right? So people don't, the insurance cost is not that high for the items that you're insuring. It's basic furniture, it's third-party liability. And then, of course, most buildings, you already pay for insurance through your, what do you pay? The developer costs.
Yeah, okay. No, I'm with you.
Service charges.
Yeah, I was getting there as well. It's funny, your mind went blank, and so did mine. I wonder why. Look, we're running out of time. I wanted to ask you just very quickly one or two more questions. The short-let rental market, the market that you're obviously an expert in, how profitable is that? Is there an average kind of daily rate? And also, how strong are occupancy rates? Could you, quantify that in any way?
So our occupancy rates are over the year, probably around between 82 and 85%. So that means that right now, for example, we're over 90, and then over the summer you have much lower, but your rates are also lower. And
right.
Anyway, summers are a bit weird here because they've changed quite a bit. You would think no one comes here in the summer, but if you were here in the summer, you see people do come. So the rates are just lower and people stay for longer. So the occupancy is still there. It's not zero. It's, maybe 50%, 60%. So it's still good. So anyway, it works out to that. In terms of your profitability, it kind of depends on, we always compare it to the long-term market. And it does depend on the area, the building. So in general, I would say over a 3 to 5 year period, you are making way above long-term rentals. But the market changes. We've seen it kind of go up and down, and depending on where you are, sometimes long-term is better, sometimes short-term is better. But over a longer short-term period, I always found short-term better because you always have guests. You never stop having guests. Whereas with long-term, if you think about it, you don't have a tenant after tenant after tenant. You have a tenant, and then you have a couple of months where you're looking for the next tenant.
Quite possibly,
So
yeah.
that kind of math we did once with a client of ours, and I remember being surprised that it was true. People just look at it year to year. They forget that this is not supposed to be year to year. This is supposed to be over time.
Okay. And
Yeah.
you've decided to take that approach as well, I suppose. So a couple of days without a guest is, it can be made up, and you're kind of attuned to that, I suppose.
Yeah, we
aren't
have
you?
pricing algorithms, of course. If there's
Right.
any gaps, they get filled in. There's a whole math behind it to make sure that you're getting the bookings.
That's fascinating. I've learned a great deal from you. I have, and loads of questions left to ask. So Anna, you're going to have to come back at some point in the
I
not
would
too
love to come back.
distant future. Anna Skigin is the founder and CEO of Frank Porter. Here's the phrase, hassle-free Airbnb management company, launched in Dubai in 2017. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. This is Mira Business FM.